All right, let's just jump right in, shall we? Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking an incredibly tense moment from Act 3, Scene 1 of the play Dreams Denied. We're zooming in on Governor Mwitu's infamous appearance on County 96 FM with presenter Mwaria. It's honestly a fascinating, almost painfully awkward look at what happens when a leader's total detachment from reality gets broadcast live on air. We're actually starting at the end here, dropping right into the aftermath of a total political meltdown. Why did I come here in the first place? I should have known better. Those are the defeated, mumbled words of the governor as he literally storms out of the studio. But, how exactly did he get there? How does a guy go from demanding airtime with absolute confidence to just fleeing the room in total disgrace? So what has happened when a politician's carefully manufactured image collides head-on with a relentless journalist on live radio? Well, we're going to treat the scene like the pressure cooker it is. We'll examine step-by-step how an elected official completely unravels under public scrutiny, analyze the brilliant tactics Mwaria uses to dismantle those defenses, and watch the governor's narrative basically fall to pieces. Part 1. The radio confrontation. Right off the bat, the contrast between these two is just striking. On one side, you have Mwaria. He's calm, cool, and collected, the steady voice of the people. And then on the other side, Governor Mwitu enters the studio already looking anxious and defensive. He completely underestimated the environment he was walking into. The stage directions here are super telling. Mwitu is forcing a smile. He's adjusting his tie. It really sets this underlying tone of panic hiding just beneath his political facade. His chief policy advisor had actually just warned him that Mwaria would tear him apart. But Mwitu, he insisted he'd leave the studio looking heroic and untainted. But that visible fidgeting, deep down he absolutely knows he's in trouble. Moving into part 2, questioning absurd policies. This is where we really see the massive disconnect between the leader and the people. Mwitu was fiercely defending spending county resources on things like deworming programs, issuing literal identification documents to cattle, and protecting a monopoly on tick medication. Meanwhile, Mwaria delivers a massive reality check. He brings up unfulfilled campaign promises and points out that citizens are literally facing malnutrition, the cows are dying from tick infestations anyway, and the human healthcare clinics are falling apart. It's just a stunning display of misplaced priorities. When Mwaria presses him on whether cow IDs actually boost milk production, which is a very fair question, Mwitu gets completely cornered. He claims the IDs help, sure, but when asked for actual scientific proof, Mwitu starts shouting, he backtracks, he tries to brush it off as a, quote, slip of the tongue, and then he awkwardly admits he needs to, conduct more research. It just instantly exposes the complete lack of data behind his whole agenda. All right, part 3. The scholar defends himself. So instead of offering, actual facts, the governor retreats into grand titles. He proudly declares, besides being a politician, I am a scholar. I have studied these things thoroughly. He's desperately trying to elevate himself above accountability. He even dismisses Mwaria as just a radio presenter who couldn't possibly grasp the complex inner workings of cows, like chewing the cud or oxtails. It's a textbook evasion tactic. And it gets worse. When he's challenged on this acaricide monopoly that's actively hurting farmers and tanking milk production right now, Mwitu claims it's going to save them money in the long run. But when Mwaria sharply asks for a timeline, like, when exactly is this long run, Mwichu's answer is hilariously and kind of tragically empty. He just stammers out, it will be eventually, if I can put it that way.
Wow.
Mwaria doesn't let that slide. He calmly points out that the governor is just talking in circles, telling him straight to his face that these explanations offer zero clarity to a suffering electorate. The juxtaposition here is wild. You have Mwaria's deliberate, calm demeanor perfectly highlighting Mwitu's snapping and defensive posturing, which honestly just makes the governor look completely out of his depth. Which brings us to part 4, liars and charlatans. Unable to defend his actual record, Mwitu tries the classic pivot. He tries to change the narrative by claiming he's being targeted by political enemies, using the radio show as a smear campaign. But Mwaria smoothly drops a bombshell. He reveals these critical questions aren't from political rivals at all. They're coming straight from the everyday voters of Carrara County. And this is the moment. In a flash of sheer panic and uncontrolled anger, the governor accidentally insults the very people who put him in office. He yells, "That is a lie. The people who sent you those questions are liars and charlatans who wish nothing good for this county." Yikes. This is the catastrophic slip-up Mwaria had been meticulously guiding the interview toward. His physical reaction says it all. He literally bangs on the table. And then, when Mwaria calmly asks to clarify if the people who voted for him are liars, Mija starts stammering, looking totally confused. He tries this messy backtrack, mixing up yes and no, and gets completely trapped when Mwaria coolly offers to just play back the soundbite. Game over. The trap has snapped shut.
Part 5. The breaking point.
It is absolutely fascinating to watch this final progression play out. Mwaria asks if the governor plans to replace his underperforming senior officials. Mwitu is shocked by the question. Why? Because according to him, his staff needs their salaries to pay off their car and house loans. Mwaria immediately highlights the devastating irony here. The governor's inner circle is busy paying off mortgages, while the rest of the county is literally starving and dealing with failing infrastructure. This leads right into the physical climax of his political failure. Utterly defeated, out of logic, and completely exposed, Governor Mwitu accuses Mwaria of just being negative. Then, get this, he pulls a yellow packet of deworming pills out of his pocket, chucks them right at Mwaria's face, and literally runs away from accountability, storming straight out of the studio.
Finally, Part 6. Power to the people.
Left alone in the studio after the governor's dramatic exit, Mwaria doesn't gloat. Actually, scratch that, he doesn't even flinch. He just straightens his papers and delivers this incredibly powerful, grounding sign-off to the listeners. Sovereign power belongs to the people. He reminds the electorate exactly where the true power of democracy lies. It doesn't sit with arrogant officials, it rests squarely with them. So what happens to a democracy when leaders view accountability as an insult rather than a duty? As we wrap up this explainer, just consider how the dynamics of this one single radio interview reflect the absolute necessity of a relentless free press. Governor Mwitu walked in expecting a coronation and walked out a cautionary tale. It is a stark reminder of what happens when public servants forget who they actually serve. Thanks for walking through this incredible breakdown with me. See you next time.